financial,
So we can go. We can go.
you know where those non-public concepts go. I did, but we filled
Really?
those.
I'm ready to go to.
All right, at 7 p.m., we're going to go ahead and get started. I see all of you are adhering to our existing mask policy, and I very much appreciate that. Chair Morgan is unavailable this evening, so I am going to do my best to substitute as chair, so bear with me. We will... Is that really loud? Sorry.
Really
I'll do that. I'm so sorry. I'll do it softer next time. Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's loud. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready?
roll call, please.
Jeff,
What?
roll call.
Oh, we're here.
Thank you. Greg.
Here.
Ken.
Here.
Amy. April. I just called you Amy?
Amy?
I did.
April. Here. I've been called way worse, Patty.
I
so.
know. So Eric, who's missing? That's,
Eric and Wade.
Eric
are
and
missing.
Wade are both missing. Sorry.
Okay.
I was supposed to, I was not calling you.
I've been called way worse.
Okay, good.
Last week, as a matter of fact. Next up, we have our student board member report. Bridget, are you here? No, Bridget is not here. Okay. Announcements, agenda, adjustments, approval, and information dissemination. I saw we had one item F removed. Any other adjustments or changes to the agenda? Any announcements? Okay. Do we need to approve the agenda?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the
Move to
agenda?
approve.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda carries. Board member reports. Jeff?
I don't have any.
Greg? Kent?
Yeah, the COVID-19 response committee met for a good long while, and we had quite a excellent discussion about our plan and how to implement it best in order to keep our students in school, in person, and at the same time keep them safe as possible. And it was, I think, a very excellent discussion, and so we've done the best we can as far as coming up with what makes sense based upon science and based upon reasoning as far as how to proceed as we go forth for the school year. So we're going with what we have, and I think it's important to remember that in science there's no absolute truths. There's very few absolute truths about much of anything, except you go with the best information at hand and proceed accordingly, and you may have to make the adjustments as time goes on. And that's what we're going to be continuing to meet on a regular basis. And, you know, when new information is brought to light, we will make the changes that are necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
The only thing I will share is Friday was homecoming. I live right across the street from Old Hickory Park where all the high school kids were on Friday. They were playing volleyball, powder puff, and bags, and it was just amazing to see all the kids out there somewhat back to normal, having a great time on homecoming Friday. So I just wanted to share that. For community input, I will call your name. We have a podium for you. You'll have 2 minutes. I will set a timer when you start talking so that everyone gets an equal amount of time. Generally, these aren't interactive, so you get your full 2 minutes to say whatever you'd like. And please be respectful when people are up there speaking. Then I won't have to hit the gavel so loud again. Okay, Mr. LaRue, we have you up first. You do? Oh. So on the ball, Brandon. Brandon, your timer is on the board.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon LaRue, and I spoke at the last school board meeting regarding the masking policy, where we clearly presented the solution of parental choice in masking. Of course, this was not the solution that was decided upon by the school board, but I know that it brought up healthy and passionate discussion on this topic, which is a good thing. There's a large portion of parents, nearly 200 in our petition, in this district that are looking for less rigid solutions that was decided upon during the last meeting. And I'm here to present one that I feel could be a win for everyone. Everyone's goal is to maintain in-person learning, and from the last meeting, it appeared that the only solution you saw where that was possible was by universal masking. Upon further research, it appears this isn't the only way to get it done. Other school districts have implemented a different hybrid strategy that is showing to be effective and appeals to everyone's goal of keeping kids in school while also giving parental choice. In these schools, if a student isn't wearing a mask and is deemed a close contact with another COVID-positive student or staff, they are given the option to then wear a required mask for the next 10 days of school or to quarantine at home. Many of you stated in the last school board's meeting that you too hate wearing masks and wish the kids wouldn't have to wear them. Well, here's a plan. This policy that I've printed off and handed to all of you would be a great solution to implement and would help restore faith and trust in this school's administration, which is an integral part of this community. Let's be clear. This isn't a giant step from your current decision. Staff and students remove their masks for periods of time throughout the day at school, particularly during lunch. Additionally, there are students with special needs in the district, one of which is my daughter, who already does not wear masks for the entirety of their days. Lastly, we must establish a metric in our local ecosystem rather than weighing on outside guesstimations. As you know, currently there are 2 COVID-positive students, and with a rate that low, you can make the diplomatic decision to provide choices for parents and their kids, along with risk mitigation strategies to accommodate exposures. Because if the policies don't become more representative of the people you're serving, especially with the current infection rate of 2, it could lead to a more disenrollment and disenfranchised families. Because then there's zero light at the end of the tunnel, and the goalpost will just keep
Time's
moving.
up, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Next, I have Sherry Pika. Did I say that right? Okay. Pika. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, I do want to introduce myself. My name is Sherry Pika, and our first board meeting was the last board meeting. And I did want to take the time just to kind of let people know who I am in the community, because this is a community. This is our community input. And the division that we saw at the last meeting, and even things since then, is very disheartening. We moved here about 2.5 years ago, and we have a very large family. And we have set up 7 households here in the last 2 years. My oldest grandchild is 5, and my youngest is, well, I have 2 youngest that are only 9 days apart, and they are 4 months. So we all live in this community. It's very important for us to protect children. That's what my life is. That's what I do. I own a business that is solely to protect children. That's what I do every day. I am vaccinated. All of my staff are vaccinated. We are around people who cannot be vaccinated, and as we all know and science has proven, our masks protect others. So my mask is not protecting me, it's protecting others. Even when we're sitting and taking our mask breaks, that's potentially a risk to somebody else. May not be that child that's sitting right there, but maybe they'll bring that home to someone else is also risking. This Delta variant threw all of us for a loop. So last year at this time, I probably would have had a different opinion because children under 5 really weren't affected. younger and younger children, there are more and more and more. And I just urge everyone to do your scientific research, not our social media research. Find that right research that's out there and follow the science. I did want to let other people know if there are any questions about how a board should be run. I have Robert's Book of Rules. I would love to share that with anyone. There's a lot of questions on how this is. I appreciate you guys following your policies and procedures. And it's a lot to take in, so a lot of normal people might not know it. But I have it here if anyone
Thank
wants
you,
it.
Sherry.
I will give it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next on the list, I have Jared Pika. Got that name right this time.
Hello, my name is Jared Pika. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'd first like to express my appreciation to the school board members for the foresight and thoughtfulness to pass the mask mandate that has kept our children safe. Our school has 4 active COVID cases as of today, which is impressive and a big sign that we are doing things right. When compared to the school districts in our area that started with optional masks, it's clear that it has had a difference in reducing the number of sick students and any impact on their parents and families. The district numbers are increasing though, so we must remain committed to this effort. My child goes to La Crescent High School, is vaccinated, but she's scared of catching COVID. She doesn't want to be sick, obviously, but also doesn't want to pass it on to anyone else who might also get sick. She has lots of nieces and nephews who can't get vaccinated yet. The masking mandate helps keep all families safe. I wear a mask to protect everybody, not just myself. That's the key point to be taken from this and a great lesson for our children. We should help those that are not able to protect themselves. We wear masks and get vaccines so those who cannot get vaccinated or wear masks can remain healthy. It's not about freedoms, it's about helping our community. It's okay to do extra, even if you aren't getting something directly from it. It's about being selfless. The youngest students can't get the vaccine and often have trouble wearing masks, so this is about them. When the vaccine becomes available to everyone, I hope it becomes a requirement for our district, just like numerous other vaccines that our kids get. People don't die of polio, and kids don't stay home from school with chicken pox anymore, because science has given us the tools to beat these diseases. We have the tools to beat COVID and end the pandemic, we just all need to use them. Nobody wants to wear a mask. So get vaccinated, support the efforts, and we'll get back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jared.
you.
Next on the list, I have Gabe Cody. I don't know if he's here, though. There he is.
I guess I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight. That was from last week. I guess what I'd like to say is you mentioned that you're going to follow the science, and that's what you wanted to do. There's a lot of scientists out there that disagree with everything you're saying, though. So for you to come in here and tell us that we need to follow the science, which one? If I wanted to see if the earth was flat, a scientist would tell me it's flat. There are so many opinions on the internet today. If you want it to look like masks are good, you'll find it. If you want it to look like masks are bad, you'll find it. So for you to make the decision on what my child should do, I don't agree with. Because of the science. Because there's so many variations out there, I don't trust any of them anymore. So when it comes down to it, it's my choice for my child. I wish you'd give me that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabe. Next, I have Katie Pirachka. How'd I do on that?
Pirachka.
Pirachka.
Good evening. My name is Katie Pirachka. My husband and I have 4 daughters, 2 of which attend the elementary school. I am not anti-mask, anti-vaccine, or anti-science. It's clear that there are people in our community and on this board who believe universal masking is the safest way to live. We are continually pointed to snippets of data on COVID and scared into the horror that tomorrow may bring. What's being lost in the COVID hysteria is people look at more than just COVID when deciding how they choose to live their lives. The way that people assess their own individual risk is extremely personal. What scares you into behaving a certain way doesn't have the same effect on everyone. Forcing people to live in fear of something that you are most fearful of breeds distrust. It's not that I don't believe this virus hasn't been ruthless. It's not that a large percentage of our community has our heads buried in the sand and are simply choosing to reject science. What it comes down to is the way we choose to live our lives and how we choose to assess risk. There's a growing number of people who are choosing to no longer live in fear and who are choosing to no longer allow our leaders, our neighbors, our fellow community members to force their fear upon us. We were told the reason universal masking was predetermined as the plan was to keep our kids in school, as that was cited as your number one goal. That which was presented to you last week were two plans that will satisfy all sides of the masking issue. The plans I'm referring to are already in effect in Caledonia and Lake City school districts who also have to comply with the Minnesota Department of Health. The plan is mass choice, which includes mitigation strategies for when or if there is a lab-confirmed COVID-positive case. Please stop this policy which emboldens members of our community, school, and others to bully us into submitting to their personal choices. Compliance does not equal support. If it is truly your number one goal to keep kids in school, then I'm here to encourage you to extend the olive branch and restore the faith and trust that us as parents and members of the community need to have in you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last on the list, I have Tiffany Bartz.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Bartz. I am a nurse at Gunderson in the emergency department. I've been there for 10 plus years. I don't have anything formally written up because I found out the rescheduled meeting was today, and I work today in a busy ER, and I have a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So I'm just here to express my opinion and express what I see on a day-to-day basis in the emergency department. Starting out today, holding 10 admitted patients in the emergency department because the hospital is being taken over by at least 30 admitted COVID patients. So I have to say that I totally agree with the information presented by the Pika family, that it is more than just about ourselves and our own individual fear, whether you're fearful or you're not. It is about the general community. Day after day, I'm seeing patients come in. I'm not trying to make this about vaccine, not vaccine, but people who are really sick have had admitted at least, or intubated at least 20 to 40-year-olds that we weren't seeing that last year with the original COVID. The Delta variant is a lot worse for younger, healthier populations. And that makes me fearful for our kids in our community, and not only the kids at school, but the kids taking any virus home to their parents. I'm 34 now, yes. That could be me. That could be any one of you in this room. I'm not trying to, again, scare people. I know that people generally don't see the illness, that level that I see being in the emergency department, but I do.
Thank you, Tiffany. We didn't start your timer, I'm sorry,
Okay,
but we
that's
kept
okay.
it up here.
So, again, I'm for the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the list for community input. Thank you very much. Next, we have the consent agenda items. We have the minutes. We have some new employees. I saw Coach Groton on the sidelines Friday night with his cowboy hat on.
All right. Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, All in support of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yeah, I would like to pull up the donations.
Donations are good.
We received a few donations. I saw they were from Mr. and Mrs. Mao. English, and we think that may be for Mr. Berg.
Yeah.
On behalf of Mr. Berg. And then in memory of Mrs. Jones, she was my kindergarten teacher. Amazing lady. And then another 50 for football. So thank you to the Maos. All right, now we can go to action items. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Excellent.
First item under action items, we have the COVID preparedness plan, commentary by Eric Martinez and Lauren Dodson.
I believe Lauren had to stay home, so you guys are stuck with just me. We did meet, as Dr. Summerfield said. Chief among our concerns is that we make everything a little easier to understand. Consequently, we have merged our guidelines, put them all under one pandemic preparedness plan. We've gone to an easier to understand grid for quarantine guidelines that we posted on it's already posted on our website. We also discussed as a metric for when we would stop requiring masking. We recommend that we would stop requiring masking 2 weeks after the CDC tracker for Houston County's community transmission goes to moderate or low. Transmission risk rates are determined by new cases and percentage of positive tests during the past 7 days, provided the cases for district staff and student cases are less than 5%. So for low, you need to have under 10 cases for 100,000 in the past 7 days. For moderate, you need to have 10 through 49.99 per 100,000 for the past 7 days. Substantial is 50 to 99.99 per 100,000 for, again, 7 days. And then high is over 100 for 100,000 per 7 days. Even though the population of Houston County is 18,000, what you have to do to get to the number then is divide by 5.39, I believe. And then don't quote me on that, but it's close to that. So for us to get to moderate, we would have to have 9 cases is what we're currently at in the past 7 days. And then our buildings, our 2 buildings would have to be under 5% of cases for staff and students. Mr. Kopp and I did the math on that today. For the elementary, we're looking at about 430 people total in that building, so it'd be 21 cases. So that is the metric that we are recommending. Any questions on that?
No. Can I ask one thing, though, that when you, in the finished version of this, it would be nice to have the numbers you just read off?
Sure.
The different numbers and what those are? I mean, you can put a qualifier that says those change. I mean, percentages depend on how many people, and that shifts, but
Yes.
it would be nice to know what the actual numbers are that we're talking about for those different levels of high, substantial, low, and moderate.
We can definitely do that.
Okay? Do you mind if I comment?
Go ahead.
So at the last actual school board meeting, not the kind of school board meeting we had last time, I hadn't written down what I wanted to say, and so I kind of got lost as people were interrupting and things got a little more out of hand. So I wanted today to just say a couple of the reasons why I am at this point supporting the mask mandate. I just want to make sure it's clear it's not something I just pulled out of the air. And I also want to be clear that I heard everyone who spoke today. I heard everyone who spoke last time. I've printed and read every email anyone has sent me, good or bad. Just because I don't agree doesn't mean you haven't been heard. It means I just don't agree with your position, but that doesn't mean it's not heard. So I just want to make that clear. The reasons why I voted last time and will this time as well is I've read a lot of peer-reviewed studies over the last 6 months trying to figure out when we got to this moment, what would I do? Didn't want to be sitting here not having an idea of what I would do. And in a lot of those, I found some just interesting numbers I just want to put out quick so everyone understands where I came from. One was 328 U.S. Navy service members, masking reduced by 70%. These are actual peer-reviewed studies, so they're not just, made up. In China, 124 positive COVID people affected 335 impacted people, and masking reduced the secondary infection by 79%. So a COVID person in a house, picture 124 houses, totaled up 335 people who could have been infected. Masking reduced it by 79%. Lastly, Thailand, I can't say it, Thailand. 211 positive cases with 839 close contacts. Masking reduced by 77%. That's just 3. There's more. And I agree, science is just crazy right now. You can read anything. You can find any study to prove anything, but I wanted to be clear, that's where some of my information and my thought process came from. The next place it came from is that we're up to 64 cases in 7 days right now in our county. No one can tell me there isn't transmission going on. We're at 4 cases in our school, which is awesome. I think the fact that we're masked means we're a lot less than we would be. I will leave other schools out there around us who are not nearly in as good a shape. I'm so glad our band marched in the parade. I can tell you some other schools' bands didn't for the same reason, for the reason I have too many cases. In La Crosse today, I saw a presentation by La Crosse County Public Health. 1/3 of new cases are vaccinated people. So 1/3 of the new cases that they have are vaccinated people. And lastly, I want my kids in school. They struggled virtual. Every one of my kids struggled virtual. My son spent his senior year when he should have been in band and he should have been in the talent show for the one thing he loves more than anything, and he spent his senior year at home. Except for a few weeks. Then he went back home for a few weeks. Then he came back. My 10-year-old, she was 9 at the time, would just cry, "Mom, I just want to go back." And I'm like, I want you to go back. So I will vote to wear a mask until I'm sure that my kid will be in school with no stopping. No, oh, we'll go home for 2 weeks because, oops, we goofed. So please understand, I have very clear reasons for why I'm making my decision, and not everyone on the board has to agree with me. But I never really got a chance to say that at the previous board meeting, and I wanted to be sure I conveyed it now. So I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Jeff, did you have any comments?
I'm still in favor of masks as well. We're in a difficult position in that when we're successful, it looks as if there's not a problem. And I think we've done pretty well so far. And I think we all have the same goal. We all want our kids to be in school, share the same experiences, play sports, do all those things. And although masks aren't perfect, it's a step, and it's helped. So I'm in contact with doctors at the Mayo Clinic. There's doctors I suppose you could find, but from what I've read, 96% of doctors favor masks. That's a pretty substantial number. And so I have a hard time with my educational background to argue with doctors. And I don't know that there's many doctors in the audience that could argue as well. This is a real problem that we have, and we're doing the best we can.
Thanks. Greg, did you have anything you wanted?
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with some of the masking, but I'd like to kind of discuss maybe adding a little bit. So like maybe like the 9 through 12 being able to, when they're seated in class, and to give them a break because they are in their mask all day. They don't get to go outside for recess. They don't have the time to take a break. So I was wondering if, I don't know if we could take it back to the committee or maybe just have a discussion of figuring out a way to allow them to take off their mask while they're seated in the classroom if we have to rearrange desks or do something just so they can have that break throughout the day. I don't know how we would be able to do it, but at least through 9 through 12 because they're vaccinated or have the chance of being vaccinated. Thought.
Eric, any thoughts on that?
I believe, Mr. Malaco, you guys have some breaks already in, and we've been recommending a lot of outdoor classes and things like that.
Yeah, right away with the first staff meeting with teachers, we talked about, hey, let's take advantage of the nice weather while we can. If there's days where you can get outside and give the kids a mask break or teach your lesson outside, definitely take advantage of that. Also we don't have recess, of course, for the high schoolers, but we do encourage them to take advantage of our new, entrance and the seating area that's available outside. So go ahead and eat your food and then, mask back up when you're not eating. But then if you go outside, you can get your mask break right away. So there's, most of the kids have been getting a solid 15 to 20 minutes of mask-free time during lunch right now. And so we're trying to incorporate those mask breaks as much as possible at the high school.
Which works, which makes sense, and we're glad you're doing that, but what happens once winter sets in and it's below zero?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. I mean, don't have to be implemented this time around, I just want to discuss it.
We can certainly bring it up for discussion at the COVID committee. I can bring it up to Mr. Smith and do that for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And there's 2 additional suggestions I've been given by parents that I'd like us to talk about at the COVID committee meeting. One would be the suggestion of making optional masking for vaccinated or those that have had COVID within the past 90 days. So would that be an option? Now, I know you can still spread COVID if you've been vaccinated, but I'd at least like us to talk about it at the committee meeting. I also looked at the Lake City and now Caledonia model with the requiring masks for 10 days or quarantining for 10 days. I would like to talk about that at the committee meeting once we've moved to recommended masking. So if the metrics in this proposal are met and we move as a district to recommended masking based on the metric, then if we were to have a close contact situation and the person's not vaccinated and hasn't had COVID in the past 90 days, then could we give that person the option to mask for 10 days versus quarantining at home for 10 days? Which is what the Lake City and the now Caledonia requirements are. As far as the metrics, I do support the metrics and just want to clarify, we did say it's by building. So if we meet the metric in one building and not the other, we can still move to the building that has the, if it's low enough to move to recommended, both buildings don't have to meet it, just one can. Kent?
I think I said quite a bit very first meeting a month ago for about 10 minutes. And we've also said quite a bit in our COVID meetings, and I think that people need to understand this is a moving target. We need to keep our eye on the ball and not be sideswiped by misinformation, either our passions or anybody with an agenda to prove anything, which I would hope not be the case. But I think we just need to move ahead, baby steps, and continue to meet as a committee. And I would also like to hear from the other people on the COVID committee as far as the staff or administration, any of their input, any of their take, Beth or Jeff. far as anything you had said or thought?
One thing I can share is that, I noticed with Mr. Smith's principals meetings as well, we are actually being used as an example right now. Kind of opposite of what we were
Spring.
would have been in the spring. And they're saying, hey, La Crescent has been masked this entire time and have very, very few people with positive cases and very few quarantined students right now. Last numbers I heard today, I heard two different numbers today from Caledonia, between 40 and 55 students out in quarantine right now. And so, we're sitting in a pretty good spot. And so I think, the kids and the staff are thankful to be here. As April mentioned with the festivities that took place on Friday, and the sense of normal that was there, you could see the excitement. And, every single person that's on our committee that's up here on stage that works with the kids, whether it's custodians or teachers or cooks or whatever, everybody in our building, we just want to be here. And that's the focus. We want to do everything we can to have our kids in person and remain that way all year long. So that's been our continual focus.
So I would make a motion. Oops, go ahead.
We have the opportunity to spend a bit more time developmentally appropriately outside at the school garden, before and after school. The kids are 6 feet apart at lunch, so we've been able to accomplish a safe learning environment that balances the more restrictive, masking with also, following the guidelines that let kids be together. And I think that we've struck that balance, and it's understood that, older kids don't have as much of a mask break. I understand that, but we're trying to give kids as much time, outside and with their friends, but also really, focusing on that instruction, because we're trying to increase achievement levels in reading. So trying to balance that too. So, so far so good. And, I guess I appreciate the suggestions, and I look forward to the next committee meeting to discuss.
Yeah, sounds good. I guess I would just say I've also disseminated quite a bit of written information from experts at Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, medical school, to the COVID committee and to the other board members to let them read. The information is quite a bit, and we certainly can't go into all of that here, but look forward to future meetings.
I'll just add from my perspective, as I look around at our other communities, Houston's band had to pull out at Apple Fest. They've had their volleyball and JV football team quarantined. Spring Grove at one point had 100 kids out. Their band couldn't come to Apple Fest. And Caledonia yesterday did distance learning. I don't know if they're back in person today, and they had trouble getting subs. They didn't have enough staff available to teach, so they went to distance learning. And I saw Logan canceled their homecoming football game on Friday because of their numbers. Our numbers are low, but there's a reason they're low. And the other communities are high, and there's a reason they're high. And so I feel very comfortable that we're doing the right thing. Do we have a motion at this time to approve the metrics that are being proposed by the COVID committee on when we would move to recommended versus required?
I move. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can we do a roll call vote, please? Sorry, Patty.
Jeff?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Yes.
Patty votes yes.
April
Amy?
votes yes. Amy?
I did that on purpose.
Amy, nay. April, yes.
April, yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I had to do it since I did it.
Any further discussion? Okay, next item. I will give you a moment to exit the school board meeting if you don't want to sit through the rest of it, but they're good if you want to stay for the whole thing. We're going to talk about some policies and levy certification, so it's going to be riveting. Up next, we have the first reading of the 2021-2022 Q-Count goals. Commentary by, I'm going to say, Jeff and Eric.
Sure, I'll jump in. We're maintaining our focus on reading instruction, and we did some training and implementation of some new resources to expand on the American Reading Company Independent Reading Level Assessment tool to give the teachers more instructional materials to achieve this goal. A couple years ago, we were at the 64th percentile. We're ratcheting that up to the 70th percentile. The goal is 80%. Once we have good quality, instruction with the resources, we should see kids achieving at the 80th percentile on statewide exams and universal screening. So we're on that journey. Just a few years ago, we were at the 52.2%. So we're keeping that focus on reading.
And I'd like to bear in mind that this is also in addition, they've done this with getting the results they got wasn't easy when they were doing it distance learning. So we're really looking forward to having our kids in school, our kids learning from the experts, utilizing this universal screening, utilizing the tools that have been brought forth by professional development. At the middle school and the high school is focusing on math, specifically in their MCAs and the MTAS, and then the high school is focusing on the ACT. Just making sure that we're following up with that college readiness. Both, or all three principals are really focused on high achievement, high expectations, and like I said, we're really looking forward to this year, mainly because we know we're going to make up a lot of ground, and I think everybody knows that that's goal number one, is to make sure our kids are here, make sure our kids are learning.
Any questions?
No. Need just to approve it for a first
I'll make
reading?
Yep, we
Right.
need an
I'll make a
approval
motion
for
to
first
approve.
reading.
You made the motion, I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next, we have the second reading of the student attendance policy. There's no one on this one. I did ask Brittany to make, we had asked for a couple edits after the August meeting that are not on the agenda version, and that was, there is no attendance procedure addendum. It's actually found in the student handbook. So we made the edit to reference that the attendance procedure is in the handbook versus an addendum. Any further comments or discussion on this policy?
Move to approve the, whoop, go ahead.
So I make a motion to approve the adjustment.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. All right. Next, we have the certification of the proposed levy, commentary by Nikki Fitzgerald.
All right, so we have until September 30th to adopt the proposed levy for '22. Since the numbers are changing daily, we recommend that we certify the max so that we don't have to hold a special meeting to adopt a separate levy.
Okay. Any
that-
questions from the committee?
So that's the
Board.
proposed 2021, pay 2022, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
On here? Okay.
This is something we do every year
Yeah.
at this time.
Yep.
So this is every year thing.
Bookkeeping.
It is.
And it's a matter of, if we don't do this now, then we can't levy down the road, so.
Correct, it will be finalized at the
Correct.
December Truth and Taxation. So we
We're not-
certify the max now. just
We're not
so we can
adding
make
anything, we're
changes.
just basically approving that we can later.
That we can.
Gives us the option. All right, move to approve the proposed 2021 tax levy as
Sec-
presented.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The levy is certified. Approved. All right, next we have the approval of the cooperative agreement between ISD 861 and our district. Commentary by Josh.
Yeah, the 1920 school year, we had the opportunity to enter into a cooperative agreement with Winona Senior High to allow our girls to play on their girls hockey team.
Nice.
La Crescent Hoka and Winona Cotter are part of that co-op. It was a great opportunity for our girls. Has been a very successful thing and has been very smooth. This is just kind of a detailed version. The original contract we had was just kind of blanket. Nothing really changed as far as the agreement goes. This just has it outlined better for us. In a nutshell, they add up total program cost and then divide it by the number of total participants and then multiply it by the number that attend La Crescent Hoka schools. And that's our cost. And so we're looking at probably about I think last year was about $2,200 for our girls to go and play hockey. And so, a lot less expensive than starting our own program and still giving them a great opportunity to play. So I strongly suggest approving the renewal of this contract for our girls.
Can I ask one question?
Ken?
Now that we've kind of done this, because it was the first year a couple of years ago, right?
Yes.
When we did it. Are there other girls hearing about it and interested in doing it as well, or?
It's kind of one of those things where if they, in hockey in general, sometimes can be, if they don't play it at a younger age, can be kind of an intimidating thing for somebody to pick up. And so we haven't seen a lot of growth, but I believe at our younger levels, we are seeing, a few more girls participating. And so I expect that, those numbers to increase, over the next 5 years or so.
Good, that's awesome.
Do we give them ice time to practice here at our?
Yeah, and we've actually talked about, scheduling games here,
Yeah.
a couple times a year,
Yeah.
So that our girls could play in front of a home crowd, even though there's just a couple of them.
Yeah.
But it'd still be nice to be able to schedule it here, and so
I
we're
think that'd be
working on
nice.
that.
Yep.
A lot of things behind the scenes as far as coordinating with Winona and their schedule and things like that.
Yep.
But it's definitely in the works.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the cooperative agreement continue.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
It's a neat program.
Thank
Josh.
you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, F was removed. We have next the Memorandum of Understanding with SEMCAC Head Start. Commentary by Eric Martinez.
Our 2 years is up, I guess, and they just are asking for an MOU. Some of the things that they've added is that they've asked that we have somebody that is on their health and school readiness advisory board, and then they do follow behavior guidance policy as well, serving children in facilities. They try to match as much as we do. Those of you that aren't familiar with Head Start, just another avenue for students to be ready for school. And we do sign this every 2 years.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have review and informational items. The Ice Arena lease extension request. Commentary by Eric Martinez.
I met with the sustainability coordinator of the city, for the city of La Crescent, Mr. Ludwigson. We discussed extending the lease agreement for the ice arena. They would like it, the city would like it extended to the year 2044. Reason being is that they are being offered a solar PV system with a 157.6 kilowatt system on the ice arena roof. The city is working with Lancer Youth Hockey on the remodel, and this is part of the upcoming project. Very cool stuff with solar power.
Solar power, guys.
I was gonna say, I have a question. Have they mentioned anything about having to update their chillers or anything like that for the?
Specifically from him, no. This was just all about the solar panels up on their roof.
I've heard that they might have to update their chillers at some point. That'll be a large expense.
Does that come back to us under this lease?
That's what I was wondering, like, will
That's what I'm wondering too. Does that come back to us under
come
the
back
lease
to
agreement?
school then, or is that?
I don't believe so.
Well, we'd want to sign the lease before they know how much it costs, right? So let's sign that.
Yeah. I can certainly ask Greg and bring back more information. He's chomping at the bit to meet with me again, so I told him I'd bring it up to you guys for information. So, and I'll make sure that that's not our responsibility.
Kind of see what
Yeah,
that is.
and it may be in there. I've just never seen it before, so I mean, I've seen the approval come across the board before, but I've never seen that actual lease agreement, and not that I want to read it. Don't.
Is it increasing?
The lease?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I think they want to keep the same numbers.
Oh, yeah, so let's sign that.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve?
What? This is an information item,
Oh, information.
Information item, yeah.
so we're not voting on
We're not voting. No voting.
I still vote for you to sign that.
Sign it now.
Okay. Any other discussion or comment on that? Okay. Pupil enrollment, commentary by Eric Martinez.
So if you look at the numbers, and again, these are moving targets. We had 1,065 students compared to 1,057 this year. Pandemic hasn't helped us out, just a lot of different questions. We had some other things going on, but right now, I think historically, and this is why Governor Walz is moving to, or has moved to, kind of equalize some of the things that have happened due to the enrollment. Overall, I think and Nikki and I talked about it, I think we're right where we thought we were going to be as far as the school year goes. We're doing okay. But we're continuing to make sure that this is a place where kids want to be, make sure that we're doing the right things, but it might take us a little bit longer than I thought it was gonna. So we're working on that. And I know that Jeff and Steve are working on that. I know Beth is working on that. I know Josh is working on that, so. Just item information.
Just a couple quick things. It should be enrollment count 21, 22. And then what was the budget number that we set the budget on?
1056, right? What did we set the budget on?
Yeah.
It wasn't 65. 56.
56. Okay, thank you. I just wanted folks to have an idea where the budget number was at, so.
Can I ask Jeff how, because we reduced teacher, right, in third grade?
Correct.
And how has that been going so far?
Class sizes between 22 and 24, you know, it is the highest of our entire school. But I'm happy to report that we have 66 kindergartners, and that is about 10 more than we were forecasting. So I think that's evidence that we are welcoming students in. I would like to take all the credit for that with the marketing video that happened, but on the whole, it's not. But highly qualified teachers, relationships, the building has created a buzz. We welcome, you know, tours have been wonderful. We're looking forward to January. I know I shudder to think that I just said that because of January, right? But that's when if the project's going to be done, we'll be able to like settle in and just get back to kind of running school without some of the difficulties of managing the construction project alongside of us. So I think that will poise us for an even better next year as well.
All right. Okay. All right, any other comments or questions on pupil enrollment?
Steady, it's good.
Education Minnesota report. He's not here, right?
I don't see him.
Okay, skip that one. Next, we have administrative reports. Steve is not here, but I did see he added his report, and I read through that. Were there any questions or comments, or did anyone want to cover that for Steve? No volunteers?
Josh, do you want to be Steve?
No.
Hey, from our perspective,
Actually, I haven't read his report, so I don't know.
homecoming was a success from our perspective, and it was a great connection between the high school and the elementary. So I just like to put in my 2 cents of that, and and thank you guys for including us
Bet,
in
and
the
I would like
festivities.
I'd just like to mention that you're after me and you just stole my thunder. while
Yes.
I was coming, so, no, honestly, I couldn't agree more. I think, Steve and I were both in agreement that, you know, the activities that took place at Old Hickory were fantastic. The kids loved it. It went very smoothly. You know, and, you know, it was just everybody was kind of had kind of a smile on their face, you know, like, this is neat to see the kids, you know, kind of back to normal, and it was just a great activity for everybody. So that's something we're going to look to try to continue in the future, obviously weather permitting. But yeah, it was great. You know, the kids always love you know making the trip to the elementary school too to you know, for the band to perform in front of the elementary kids and see that excitement, and then we see that excitement carry over to the game and stuff. We had a great attendance that night. I'm kind of rolling into my own little report here. Sorry. But you know, we had great attendance at the game. It was nice. It's nice to see football under the lights again. Not the outcome we were hoping for, but nonetheless, we had great support. And our student section in the 5 years that I've been here, I mentioned this in my talk with the sophomores this morning. In my 5 years of being here, we've had the best student section so far at every home game, as far as attendance and excitement. We've tweaked a few things as far as making sure everything's appropriate and we're not crossing the disrespectful line. But Friday night's student section was huge at the homecoming game, and they were extremely well behaved. It couldn't have been a better student section. So I'm really you know, excited and passing that information on to the kids that that kind of effort is appreciated by everyone. And so it was definitely an exciting thing for us.
If you don't mind, I'd like to say something. No? So I don't want to get through this meeting without saying that I'm not asking for an update of where the investigation is at about what happened to my daughter and the other students walking in the Pride Club. But I will tell you that I couldn't get my daughter to go anywhere near that football game. She was absolutely terrified that kids would spit at her again and the whole thing would start over. So I'm thrilled the Crescent, my dad was a football coach, by the way, when I was a kid here. So I love football, but I will say that what happened in that parade can never happen again, ever. It also cannot be swept under the rug. We cannot just pretend it didn't. We've got to figure out how to stop that from happening, not now, but ongoing. From the littlest to the biggest, we need to make sure we figure that out. So,
And Patty, I would just like to add too that I couldn't agree more with you, and I can 100% assure you that between the efforts of Mr. Smith and myself, with the high schoolers and the middle schoolers that were involved in this, we've spent countless hours over the weekend and all of yesterday and about 2/3 of today working on that and expressing the seriousness of what took place, and consequences have been given out, and that we don't sweep things under the rug. That's not how we roll.
thank you, I appreciate that.
You bet.
I just didn't want us to go through without mentioning
Not a problem.
that. So, thank you.
So I'll give a 30-second recap of what we're all talking about for those of you who stuck through policies. So on the Friday of homecoming, the kids were bused to Old Hickory Park. They played bags, they played volleyball, football, and they came back to the school. They had a powder puff football game on the field. The middle school kids were out watching the game, and then they did a parade. So the high school kids did a homecoming parade that went up and around the elementary school and then came back down here. So the band was in there, and then the kids had floats. And there was an incident that took place during the parade, unfortunately, between some students that is being investigated. So that's what this conversation has been about. Okay, any further, did you get through your whole report, Josh?
Yep, all good.
Okay, Mr. Kopp.
Just again, kind of, you know, the construction is ongoing and we operate seamlessly beside it. and have been cooperating with, you know, the folks. I mean, there's sometimes cement trucks are delivering during the bus lane, and we are keeping kids safe because teachers are out actively supervising. The bus lane is running, it's long, but, you know, I guess we're at school and we're really glad to be back. We do have intervention this year, so that was a little bit of the trade-off that you were kind of alluding to with third grade. But the groups have started, so we're helping those kids that are at the lowest levels close the gap in reading. You'll see those green tables, those are new, that are a 3-in-1 design, which we can sit kids apart, and those can be, you know, they're configurable. So we're able to seat up to 80 kids at 6 feet distance during their mask-free lunchtime. So that's a good improvement on that area. You'll see we have a parking lot, so we've got many cars off the street so that traffic patterns are hopefully able to flow a little bit more safely around the building. And then, what's the last one? That's it. Homecoming was a positive experience for our kids. They look forward to celebrating that. The Great Green Run and Roll is planned to be the 1st of October. And so we're looking forward to that being a safe event where we can have kids outdoors focused on wellness and also raising funds to help support like field trips and other experiences. One important thing that we've added to the curriculum, there's some of our volunteers helping build the furniture. So all the furniture is ready to go. These pictures are a little bit old, but this year we're including a diversity and inclusion seminar as a part of our full school assemblies. So each month, as a part of our positive behavior, the Lancer Way, PBIS, we have a theme that we focus on. It might be generosity. Overall, it's inclusion. And so we give that theme to our partner organization from Winona, and they're going to come and present something that has a multicultural or inclusion, so that kids can see beyond just what other kids that are in their classrooms. And so that's something that's been supported by the PTO, and I think it goes hand in hand with what you're talking about, is starting kids at the youngest age to understand that, you know, that we are a global society. There's all kinds of people, and we need to understand how to get along. And so that's a big part of this year's initiative, inclusion, and is supported by our PTO.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions or comments for Jeff? All right, Beth.
Well, in a throwback reference to Jeff's pictures, you saw the Hotline semi-trailer that was backed in there. Thank you, Karn Schwartzoff, for arranging that. And thank you to Mr. Bergmeyer for allowing us to move back. We had a lovely 18-month stay over here at the middle school for preschool and early childhood. Took us 3 enclosed trailers and several other things to get us back to the elementary. And, you know, the big news was we made it. We opened on time. Have some early childhood team members here, Karn and Ann. Thank you for all the work that you all did. And we did it. We started on time. It was amazing. And we also added, we brought back our 4th teacher position that was left unfilled last year during COVID. We have it's allowed us to offer a part-time preschool option, which many of you may have seen on the Crescent Together, was a definitive need within the community, so that is up and running. We've also welcomed Abby Weefel, our new Kids Company Coordinator, on board. She's doing an amazing job getting to know the program, the kids, the staff. We're still mostly having myself, Abby, Joan, and Bernie, all from the Community Ed office, working on a daily basis, but we are getting a few more hires on board. So that's where we hope we're nearing the end of that. And in other news, we are saying goodbye to Joan Wright, who approved her resignation. She will be moving on to St. Patrick's Church in Onalaska. She's been with us since the fall of 2013. And my last paragraph here is I am currently putting together a survey that will go out to all ISD 300 staff members, will go out to anybody that has participated in community ed programs in the last 2 years with an active email address. And it'll also be on our website asking, what do you want to see in the future for community education? Because by definition, we are to meet community needs by using our community resources. So if that needs to take us in a different direction from the current structure of positions, we'd like to know now before we hire a replacement.
Thanks, Beth. Any questions or comments for Beth?
Well, Miss Joan, she was at crucifixion, and then she came here, and we thought, yay, we didn't lose her. And now we lost her.
Yep.
But she's been amazing, and thank you for all your work on that. And I think this survey is an excellent idea to try to get input on what people actually want. So I appreciate it.
Okay, last but not least, Mr. Martinez with the superintendent report.
And I did put the first day student enrollment on there. I think we talked about that enough already. I am going to steal some of Steve's thunder. That's just looking at some of his notes. Very impressed with the staff development that happened. You know, our goal is to have highly qualified teachers, but it's also our task to make sure that we are also providing the professional development that's right for them. So our oversight committee, our staff development committees, all worked really hard at providing that. We were able to have Ben Gepfer here for PLC refresher. If you're not familiar with what PLCs are, that's just the way that people are making sure that we answer the questions of, are our kids learning? And if they're not, how are we going to make sure that they are? And then we also had Denise Moody come and train, and I'm going to reference her again, but she trained on trauma informed. You know, with the pandemic had caused a lot of different things, but one of the things that we should really look at our staff and you know, district-wide, everybody was trained in mental health first aid training, and I think that's something that should be very commended for our staff to do it, and whoever had the foresight to do that, I mean, wow, that was fantastic. So Denise Moody came in and then also gave us some trauma-informed tips. I did get a chance to go and see Jeff's meeting in action, and I am proud to say that we had teachers already using some of the tricks and tips from Denise Moody in action already within the first 3 weeks. So I think that's another thing that we really have to, you know, applaud our teachers for, applaud our district staff for, because they're doing a great great thing. But I want to focus on, as the challenges have gone forth, you know, and I think I haven't really focused on this at the board level so much. I've been very impressed district-wide with how we work as a team. When I was at that elementary meeting, you know, they haven't started off, you know, it hasn't been, oh man, we're fully staffed, you know, like Beth said, it took a team to get them going over to the elementary. You know, Karn helped out tremendously, everybody helped out tremendously. If you walked by during those days, you know, everybody was just moving. This past weekend, we had Apple Fest, so they had, community had Chalk Fest, and I haven't seen people move that fast in, you know, forever, and Bernie and Joan were just moving. But it's all about the team, you know. The elementary meeting highlighted that. This board meeting, the last board meeting, the board meeting before that, I'm just very impressed. I know I didn't put it in my board report, I should have, I will in the future, but the teamwork, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that we have the support of our community, we have the support of our district, we have the support of you guys. And we did have a meeting today, the Houston County principals and superintendent, and one of the things that came up was the amazing job you guys are doing. You know, you're putting forth a lot of effort, and you know, you're not up here for the money, you're not up here for the glory, you're not up here for power, you're here because you want to make a difference. The community support we have is the same thing. People that are stating, and you guys know this, you're getting the same emails I am, you know, that there is a lot of support out there. Makes me very proud to be a Lancer, makes me very proud to be where I'm at. Do we have some disagreements? Yes. Do we have some things out there that, you know, we're not always going to agree on? Absolutely. But the way this board meeting went tonight, the way people have been addressing us, you know, me, I won't speak for anybody else, lately has been very refreshing in that I am one of these people that you can disagree with me all you'd like. I'm not going to hold it against you. I believe you have a right to your beliefs. I have a right to mine. But like Jeff said, Beth has said it, Mr. Malakota has said it, you guys have said it, Mr. Smith, if he were here to say it, our main concern are our students. Our main concern is having them here. We know, we know that virtual learning doesn't work. So I just very impressed that we're back. You know, when you look at what Jeff has done with the construction, what Beth had to do with the construction, you know, we're giving kids a really good product right now and very good learning. So I'm very proud of that. And I didn't put that in my board report. It's just something that, you know, just after going to Jeff's meeting, looking at that, looking at all those teachers all working together, I was very impressed. And I hope we continue to do that and we continue to achieve highly and make sure that our students are feeling, you know, Patty, you make a great point. I want all our kids to feel welcome here. I want all our kids to feel safe here. I want everybody to feel welcome and safe. I will end it on the construction updates. Middle and high school are officially finished. They were finished 8 days ahead of schedule. And then the elementary school supposedly is going to end on 12/31. We're hoping that they finish 8 days early there as well. If you've gone through that, it's amazing how much work they do. You know, every time I turn around, they're doing something, and I'm just like, there's no way they got to that. And they did, so fantastic job. And you can go at, and I know this because I do it. You can go at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's people working there. You can go at 8 o'clock in the evening, and there's people working there. So people are working hard to make sure that, you know, we get what we need for our kids. So. I know I was all over the place. Any questions?
We went way over your 2 minutes there.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. But no, I really am very impressed with this, with our school. I'm very impressed with our community. You know, I agree with Mr. Malakote on the incident that occurred. For one, we can never, and Patty, I agree with you, we can never let it happen again. But, you know, that's not what we want. And having the staff all do what they do to make sure our kids are feeling welcome, you know, that says a lot about who we are. And that's something I'd like to continue.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear it finished 8 days ahead of schedule.
Yeah. So we're hoping at the elementary, 8 days.
Yeah.
We don't bring that up often either, by the way.
Tell me when the party is, sorry.
Yeah.
Before we adjourn, I just want to thank everyone who attended tonight. For those of you that gave community input, I know it's hard sometimes to get up and speak in public. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. You were all heard. And thank you to those who respectfully sat and listened. We appreciate you coming. And any additional comments or discussion from the board before we adjourn? Kent?
Yeah, one point of clarification, I can't remember who brought it up, but there was a thought about mandatory vaccination nationally for school-age children. And the way it works is that this is done on a state level, okay? Perhaps whoever said that knows that, but so if you feel strongly about that, then you would want to contact your state representatives so that they could get your ear regarding that. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We are adjourned.
Nice job, April. I think we got ahead of you all.